Hello and welcome. My name is Guru Pathik, and we're going to be doing another replay review today. Today we're going to be reviewing a 4.2k Lion and his comment from Walrusasaurus, which is a sweet name. I was the support Lion in this 4 to 4.5k MMR game. I feel like I dumpstered the Radiant, yet somehow had zero impact. So it's a really interesting way to phrase the game. So maybe you can look into overall impact. Alright, so we'll take a look. I have no idea what you mean. Maybe you feel like you got a lot of kills, you got a lot of roaming done. Who knows, but you felt like you just couldn't win. So, first off, we'll talk about the lineups. Their lineup is something you're going to see a lot in 4K, like low 4K, which is, you're going to have 3 people pick mid, and then some guy's going to first pick a Shadow Fiend, and then the other guy's like, well, fuck that, I'm not a support, I'm just going to go jungle. So you get the 4 cores, and then the one guy trying to hold it all together on their team, which is the Alk, Lifestealer, Legion Commander, Doom. I don't know what their lanes look like. Maybe Legion's in the jungle, Lifestealers off lane, jungle, safe lane, Doom's in the off lane, Alk is mid, whatever it is. They've got a super greedy lineup, which is pretty common. And you guys actually have a well-rounded lineup. You've got Wraith King, and Potom, who's probably going to roam. So it's probably going to be you and Wraith King top with an off-lane Slardar and a mid-Windrunner. So you have a really well-balanced lineup that has pretty good synergy, nice mix of stuns and spells and support and that kind of thing. But what you're going to find is that low 4Ks, even though they're really good at Dota, they're the top 5% of Dota players, 10% of Dota players, the coordination's not usually there for these kinds of lineups. They can be. But if I were looking to play this game from your perspective, I would be looking to aggressively shut down their jungle, right? Or at least force them to farm the same stuff. What I mean by that is the best way to do that is to get this tier 1 down as fast as possible. And so some of it is you're going to be organizing your team or warding in such a way that you can kill this tower or kill this mid tower, or ganking in such a way that those things happen. So I think that would be a big focus for me going into this game. But we'll check it out. Opening item build, you bought 2 wards. I didn't see if you bought the courier. Let's go back and see if you bought the courier. I don't think you did. I think someone else did. I think Potom did. Yeah, so Potom bought the courier. You gave a ward to your offlaner, which is fine. A smoke, which is okay. I kind of like a clarity online, but I usually only get 1. And so here, it's tough to say, right, in terms of items. One item I really like getting is sentry wards, especially on Dire, because it allows you to deward this pull, pretty much guaranteed every single time. And mostly because if you drop the sentry ward here, it covers every single D-ward spot, or every single ward spot for this camp, except for this one ward spot here. This is just out of range. So I like getting sentries, because it's pulling is a huge deal, especially as a Lion. That's where you get your experience from. And I think you were kind of stumped as to what to get. You get a level 1 Scroll of Town Portal, which is okay. But they're not going to play aggressive, so there's actually no point in having that. Potom tries for an arrow. Another thing about your movements, so in the first 30 seconds, right, you actually want to set your lane up to succeed. So instead of just chilling in base and hanging out here as a support player, you want to be right here, right, or right here for the first 50 to 30 seconds in the game, so 50 to 25, and then you kind of roam your way back to the here. And the reason for that is you want to see the offlaner if he's coming to ward or drop a ward or backstab you at the top rune. It gives you information as to what's going on for this lane. You want to set this lane up to go really well, and that's one way of doing it, is getting out there early and seeing what happens. So you ward the high ground here, which is okay. Probably need 1 rune ward, and Slardar is probably not going to rune ward. Another thing you could do, and this is hit or miss, wording the runes in this game isn't actually that important. Like, controlling the runes is important, but they don't have a lot of heroes that are going to actually contest the runes. They're just going to be farming kind of in their lanes. The reason contesting the runes is important is because it's an alch. You want to take as many bounties from him. You know that, though. And you could actually use this as a lane ward rather than a rune ward. And I think I would like that much better. And then maybe you just have Slardar use it as a rune ward, or Slardar use it down here to block the camp kind of thing. Like, a lane ward would be super helpful because it kind of helps you with that early harass and maybe allows you to roam a bit more. Plus you have a pretty aggressive lane with Wraith King Lion. Like, you can get kills pretty easily, especially if you know where they are. Pinging like there's a ward. I don't know what that ping was. So you start the game sort of at the top rune, and I think this is like okay, because like you're scared of the alch and you want to shut him down, but the real way to shut down alch is more to try and kill him rather than like run around here and not do anything. Like, you're a level 1 lion, which means you don't really do much. You have a 1 second stun, does like 80 damage. Whereas I'd like to see you up here zoning the offlaner. This is a small point, but this will matter when you get into a little bit of higher MMR ranking. And that's that when usually the offlaners will block their creeps, sort of like this guy's blocking his wave. And what they'll do is they'll actually block this wave such that the range creep like runs first. And the point of that is once the range creep gets up here, it dies first to the wave, and then this wave will push, and they'll essentially get a wave of experience because of that. And so most games when I'm playing the safe lane support, I actually will start here 50 seconds before the game, and I'm waiting to see if they come and try to ward, maybe right here. Really kind of depends on who I'm expecting the off lane. Then I rotate to the top rune to help my team fight for the top rune. Maybe drop a rune ward, maybe not. Usually in that pre-50 seconds, I'm dropping the lane ward here, because that way, in that, like a lot of offlaners, they'll actually go ward during that, 15 seconds you go for the rune, and this lane ward will spot out exactly where they put their ward, so it'll be an easy D-ward for you. But then I come back, and then 15 seconds into the game, I'm standing right here. And the reason is when that range creep comes up, and all the melees follow it, I tank 3 or 4 hits from the range creep to set the waves such that the melee creeps hit the range first. Now that's like an equilibrium trick that basically allows you to keep the equilibrium here and zone out the offlaner, which I think is really something you should look to do when you have an aggressive safe lane. Because if you can keep this Doom down, that's one of the best ways you can win this game. Right? Because these greedy lineups, the way you beat greedy lineups is you either ward the jungle and force one of them out of the jungle, which is an option, and that's kind of like a smoke movement down, or you just win all 3 lanes, because if you win 3 lanes, the jungler can't do anything. And I think winning 3 lanes is probably easier to do. So you've started mid, you've kind of wasted the first 50 seconds of your game. You haven't done anything. So here you guys are going for the Doom. Potom hits a nice arrow, he's super dead. There is no way he lives from this, right? Nice, you even give him first blood. So now you're denying. This is good. So the wave's going to push, right? So you as a support player, you have to be thinking about creep equilibrium a lot, and it's because creep equilibrium determines how you're going to pull, or when you're going to pull, or if you can or should, or that kind of thing. And so right here, what I would be thinking is eating this tree right here and pulling this wave, pulling this big camp into this wave here. Now when you pull this big camp, right, you have to actually tank right here this wave, otherwise this wave will kind of pull it back as it's halfway going through. So what you do is you get this, you eat a tango, and you kind of have to eyeball it. You eat this tree, you pull this wave, and you eyeball it so that you're pulling here, and then you immediately run down to right here, and you tank a little bit of this wave, and then you kind of run up down the left side of this lane. And what'll happen is then the Doom will try to go over here, your Wraith King will try to go here, and then you split the experience with the Doom on these creeps, while like trying to mess up his last hits on your own creeps. So here you're zoning. This is also okay, but zoning is actually not accomplishing anything right now. Like, one, you're trading right clicks with the Doom, but do you see how the wave's pushing into him? Like, you never want to zone like this when you're just going to give him experience anyway, right? The point of zoning is that they get no experience, not to just, you know, harass him. Like, he's a Doom. He has some regen items, but not a lot. Like, he's just going to tango up and be happy that he's got regen. So like I said, I think pulling was the right thing to do for you there. Potom gets a nice D ward. She actually blocks this camp with that D ward. It's a bit weird. I guess Potom bought sentries, so yeah, you didn't have to buy sentries. So like here, you're kind of at a loss of what to do, right? You're not hitting Doom at all. You're just standing here. Like, there's a lot of wasted time right now. Like, if you're going to be in lane harassing the Doom, be in lane and harass the Doom, right? Or what you could be doing is rotating for the top rune, right, to deny it from Alk, because that's like a huge priority this game. Granted, Alk's not moving, but at least check, right? Guess you guys are setting up a kill. Mango. Stun. Nice. So that's a good kill. So you've gotten 2 kills in this top lane, and it's because you're communicating well with your Potom. So that's good. But like I said, you're just being a little inefficient with your movements in the first 2 minutes. That clarity's paying off right now. So you check out the mid lane. Potom's roaming mid. Like, here as a Lion, Lion's kind of a weird support in the sense that you want to be prioritizing your farm. Right? He's a greedy support, which is why he was really popular in 6.83, which was the comeback gold patch. So you get this clarity, like, you want to be pulling right now. You want to be pulling this wave. Right? Again, it's all about controlling this equilibrium. And right now, Doom is getting experience, and he's in a position that you can't harass him. So instead of like trying to be aggressive in a situation where Doom, like, you don't have enough damage to kill him, probably. Like, Wraith King has no items. He's probably going like Midas Rush, which I like disagree with, but you probably don't have enough damage, just the 2 of you, to kill this 750 HP level 3 Doom, especially if you use a Scorched Earth. So go here, pull, and then connect the pull. Connect the pull to here. Right? And then when the wave is up here, then you try to gank the Doom, or at least force the Doom to have to stand in like kind of a precarious position, and then Potom will be able to rotate in and you get another kill. Right? It's about setting up the situation where you get kills. Whereas like right now, you're just kind of soaking experience from your Wraith King, which is making his lane harder, because he's level 3. You've killed this Doom twice, right? Which is really good. But he's the same level right now as this Doom. And it's mostly just due to inefficiencies with you and your movements. So like here, stand in lane, watch the Doom. Like, what are you accomplishing? You're not hitting the Doom, you're a ranged hero. Like, just smack him. Maybe you're waiting for a Potom arrow. Like, you can set up a Potom arrow too. You can just stun or hex into an arrow. A lot of it's you just need the damage. The lockdown you guys have, you have 2, 3 stuns between just you and Wraith King. So now, like, I'd like to see you be pulling, but maybe because you can't do anything to this Doom, you kind of go on him. Alright, that's good. You forced out Scorched Earth. You continued to go. Wraith King's getting the crits. What a crit master. So Wraith King got 2 crits. That's the reason that Doom didn't die. If I were to look at that situation, most of the time, what I would do is that initial stun is fine, and then once he uses Scorched Earth here, I just back off. Because the odds of you killing him is really low, and the odds of him killing you is pretty high. Just because if you look at the amount of regen, especially on a level 3 Doom, it's 23 regen a second for 12 seconds. So that's 2,200. It's like an extra 250 HP, we'll say. And so he's a, you know, he doesn't have a lot of armor. He's got 3 armor, but he's essentially an 1,000 HP unit that you're trying to kill with 3 armor. Like, that's really hard in the early game. But it ended up working out, mostly because Wraith King got a bunch of crits. I think Wraith King should have died there. But you're not controlling top rune in this time. And I don't know who grabbed this rune. We'll check. It's a bounty rune. And I think Windrunner ends up getting it. Yeah, so this is okay. This works out well for your team. Like, you don't necessarily need to... Like, the advantage of you controlling the top rune is that it allows Windrunner to control the bottom rune, and then that way you can deny all the runes to Alk. And that's, like, basically how you shut him down in the early game, because he's going to get farmed through Acid Spray. And I'd rather see you focusing on that aspect of it. So here you get mana drain, you're annoying the Doom, which is good. Although I'd still like to see you pulling at this point, or even hitting the Doom. Like, every time he walks up you want to be hitting him. Now he's level 5, and you are still level 4? Level 4. So you're like destroying this lane, but in a lot of ways Doom is doing well in this lane. He's got boots, he's level 5. He's going to get a Doom, and if he gets a kill on you guys, then he wins this lane. And so your kills look really good, but your movements are inefficient, and your own experience is bad. So again, he uses Scorched Earth. You guys continue to go on him. Like, I would have just backed when the Scorched Earth was used. Run around the tower. Probably could Clarity. That was cheeky. So you end up surviving. Right, 2k, what the fuck. Some nice trash talk. Like, you're trash talking this Doom, but like in a lot of ways he's beating you in this lane. Even though he's feeding. Like, you can chain feed and win a lane as long as you get more experience than the other guys. So he's 0-4. He's having a really bad game. But one thing I'd just recommend, like, talking shit is fine if you're into that kind of thing, but I think if you're gonna want to win a lot of games, especially in higher MMR games, you're gonna want to keep your shit talk to your team to yourself. Mostly because it does negatively impact your teammates' play when you're negative towards them. So I can't see allied chat, but just seeing this makes me think that you might be a little flamey towards your teammates. Just recommend not doing that. So here you go back to base, you pick up your Tranquils, which is okay. Like, I'd like to see you buying wards at this point, especially if you're going to go to a different lane. Mostly because wards expire at 7 minutes. So you've already lost that top rune ward, and you're about to lose some of the other wards. Though it looks like Potom is buying the wards. So maybe you're the greedier support this game. I would have thought Lion to be the poorer one, but this is like another thing where if you had been maximizing your own experience a little bit more, this rotation you'd be level 6 rather than level 5. And I think, you know, rotating before you're level 6 is okay, especially versus like Alk, for example, because Alk's an easy kill. Bottom fighter's an arrow. You guys want to go. Good chain stun. You're probably going to kill her. So that's nice. That's really good for your team. I like that you're rotating with the Potom. And Potom set up some wards in their jungle. Although, kind of interesting the wards that she chose to set up. I don't know if that was worth it. So she hits a nice shackle, but Alk has his ulti up. And if you're not 6, it's unlikely that you could kill him. Maybe the Windrunner could have dove with Windrun. That would be the way that you kill him there. So maybe that's a misplay by Windrunner. But you're buying wards. That's good. They're pushing bottom with Lifestealer. And Windrunner gets the bounty rune top. So again, this is like Potom took the bottom rune, so maybe you're okay with your positioning there. And now you're getting like a little experience mid. He tried to stun for the last hit. I don't blame you. So now, what are we thinking about doing? Your movements, like you're active on the map, especially after the first 5 minutes. You kind of gave this Wraith King a nice start, and then you pieced out. And that's what you want to do a lot of the time. But do you see how Wraith King's like under-leveled compared to this Doom? So, like, this experience could be a lot less if you'd focus that. So I like that you're roaming and you're trying to do things. But when you're roaming right now, you have enough mana for, I guess, both of your spells. Sort of. You don't have magic stick charges. So I kind of would have stuck in lane for a little bit and maybe just mana drained a creep so that I at least could cast both of my spells when I started to roam. And then like when you choose to roam, picking your path can matter a lot. Because for instance, like they have warded this rune. I can't see the ward. So when you move, like especially as a lion, like tend to move this direction or just de-ward their wards kind of thing. But this is really nice. And in a lot of ways, like you guys are setting up to try and kill them. And I think this is kind of the wrong strategy in a lot of ways. Like, it's fun to try to chase after these guys and kill them, but you're wasting so much time in this window when you're actually stronger than them, like significantly stronger. They have like no stuns to fight you. And if they, you know, rotate as 3 heroes, then you might run into some trouble. Like, I think you want to focus on pushing and maximizing your farm. Because if you take away towers, they're going to feel unsafe in where they can farm. Whereas, like, if you kill them, especially at this stage, they're dead for, like, I don't know, 10 seconds. Really doesn't affect them that much. But you get 2 kills here, which is really good. You're now level 6. Alk is DC'd. So we'll probably see a pause fest in a second here. But right, like, you're not... Like, this game is going really well for you. You guys have a lot of kills. And now that you're level 6, I'm going to look to see that you rotate and try to kill someone. But again, like, the goal against these greedy lineups is to push down their towers. And that's how you win, right? You win the game through objectives. And in the first 10 minutes, your team has done essentially 500 tower damage. And granted, your team's not exactly, like, the best tower damage lineup. I mean, Windrunner's pretty good. She can kill towers pretty easily. But like big thing against Alk is getting this tower down and getting this tower down, because then it suffocates these 3 jungle camps in the sense that he doesn't feel safe farming them because they're open territory for you to roam, right? You can enter the jungle here, and like all of this is kind of available to be ganked, whereas now like this is really tough to get to. And so that's the big focus I want to see from you in this game. If we're looking at the game overall, right, the only lane that's done well for them is the Lifestealer Dazzle lane. So these 2 are the only one you really expect anything out of. Alk's going to go his like ridiculous farming build probably, because that's the most common pub build. Even though like Miracle, for example, will do like a Solar Crest Blink aggressive Alk build. You don't see that very often. You're just going to see the Radiance one. And Doom is 0-4. But their levels are actually pretty good. And for a team that's greed-oriented, levels are what they're looking for most of the time. Your Windrunner's doing really well. Potom's doing really well. You're doing really well. Slardar's doing okay. Probably below average. And then Wraith King's doing pretty well. So like your team is overall really strong right now. But if we were to probably look at like the net worth this game, your guys are probably even. Just because of their greedy lineup, and even in experience, it's even. So this game, like, while it's 9-2, is actually really close. It looks like a stomp, but it definitely isn't, especially at this stage. So here you're mid. You've got a smoke, right? And you've just hit level 6. Like, one thing I would be looking to do right now is just smoke up and go kill something, right? And most of the time, you're not going to be able. So like targets you can kill by yourself at this stage is probably the Alk. He probably doesn't have enough HP to survive it. Maybe Lifestealer. Probably Dazzle. Probably just the Dazzle, actually. Alk probably has too much HP. So Dazzle's kind of the one you can kill by yourself. Otherwise, you're going to want to look for teammates. When we're thinking about wards as well, what does this ward accomplish? Like, what movements are you looking to see with this ward? If you're looking to see like an Alk jungling the ancient or farming the ancients, then this ward is good. But I would much prefer you to have a ward somewhere in their jungle. And they dewarded this ward right here. So maybe you drop a ward here. This is like a pretty common ward now. This is obviously the best ward, but it gets dewarded really easily. This is like the second best ward, but now it's starting to get dewarded. So here's like the... I'm not going to get dewarded, but give similar vision to this ward. You can also ward like behind the towers that you want to push, so like behind this tower or behind this bottom tower. I think all of those spots are better. Like there's no movement that you're going to see that's relevant over here. Doom ganking mid. But why would a Doom walk that way to gank mid? Makes more sense that he would just either TP or walk this way. So I think this ward is useless in a lot of ways for what the state of the game is going to be. Like the majority of the fighting is going to be over this jungle. And if the Radiant are able to protect it and farm it for another 10-15 minutes, then they're going to come out way ahead. And if you guys are able to take it away, then you're going to win. So you're sitting mid. The position you're standing in right now would be completely fine if it was nighttime. But because it's daytime, they can actually just see you. So I guess you're out of vision. But like you can see how it sees all the way to the bottom of these steps, right? Like your movements right now are visible to them. So they know that Lion is in the mid lane and there's nothing to be afraid of. Or like, you know, these guys shouldn't chase theoretically because you showed yourself in the mid lane, and if your positioning had been a little bit better, then you might not have shown. So here you decided to smoke. Doom instantly reveals your smoke. You don't want to smoke in the river because you can only run two directions, right? You can only run this way and this way, and you want to smoke like back here and then like go through a rune down here. And now because your smoke has been revealed, like your movements are giving it away. Windrunner catches one of them. You get a nice double impale. You finger the Legion. I guess that's okay. Okay. Killing the Dazzle. I think your stun was okay there. This is good. Running along with him rather than auto-attacking, setting up a stun. This is all good. Like, your smoke was in a bad place, but the idea was good. Right? And now what happens is because you guys are playing really aggressively in their jungle and getting a bunch of kills, space is opened up top, right? Space is opened up mid. And you see how these guys are just pushing down towers? Right? They're passively, well, it's not passive, but they're impacting the game as best they can without fighting. And so I'd like to see you guys move to push a tower. And like, this is a good push. Especially because you have Windrunner. And like, Slardar's here to cut this wave. I don't know why you went Helm. But instead of fighting this wave, like the fastest way to push this tower is actually just to pull this wave into this camp and then start hitting this tower. So I actually like to see that from Slardar. But that's something you as a support could do as well. Because if you think about it, your damage is 77. And Slardar's is much higher. It's, you know, 94. So he actually hits the tower faster than you do. Minor thing. But you can see, like, you're trading the top objective right now. And I think you either want to be just continue pushing, or you want to go and defend that. And I think it's hard to move all of your heroes. So even at this stage, like, just keep pushing this tower. Right? Eliminate their map. Force them to fight you with a bunch of weaker heroes that aren't ready to fight. You could also, instead of warding for vision in the jungle, you can actually just ward to block. So they're going on Wraith King bottom. You're kind of at an indecisive point of where to go or what to do. And I think your team is kind of indecisive about it too. Wraith King went blink. I think he's just dead. So you get a nice kill here. So your Wraith King died by himself. And I actually like that he's on that side of the jungle. But I think you should have been with him. You end up getting a kill on this Legion. But I think you kind of want to stick with your core, right? Especially because your core went a blink and you had your finger off of cooldown. Like if you stick with him, you two can blow up any target. So I much rather would have seen you down there with him. But Windrunner is like sort of doing the right thing in the sense that she's pushing down this top tower and now you're like rotating to help her. But this tower means nothing in terms of map control, especially for a greedy lineup. They really don't care about this tower. There's no way they're going to defend. So walking up here, probably not a good use of your time. Instead, I'd like to see you pushing this wave, manaing this creep, pushing this tower, right? These two towers are the ones you need to get out of the way. Wraith King goes in. You're mana draining. If he gets away, that's your fault. So you want full mana. I understand that, but you got to think about this in terms of the Dazzle's perspective. Dazzle is stunned, right? And he's dying. So what is he likely to do the instant that he's able to? He's likely to grave. So right here at this point when you're draining his mana, you're actually not like you drain mana a lot to like actually drain their mana so that they have no spells to cast. Well, it's easier to do. It's easier to prevent them from casting spells, and the easier way is to just stun them. So like walking up and stunning here so that he wouldn't be able to grave means that this Dazzle dies right here immediately, which means that this Doom, when he walks in, all three of your heroes are focusing the Doom rather than chasing after this guy. And so maybe Doom dies because you stunned a little bit earlier or you hexed that other guy. It's just kind of like an efficient use of spells. Here you try to mana drain him, you get a nice double impale. But you're probably focusing the wrong target. Lifestealer's got an armlet, so it's a bit scary. So your team got a nice pick off on Dazzle there, and you're kind of congregating around mid, but it's hard for you to kill them in the sense that they're starting to get tanky, which means that your window to be aggressive is closing. And it's scary to think that, you know, in the first 16 minutes of the game, your window for being aggressive can close. But that's honestly how quick it can go. So they're going on Wraith King again. Bunch of TPs for this mid tower. Do you see how like aggressively they're defending this tower? Some of it's because this tower means nothing. And this tower in some ways is less important too. Like this tower is hugely important for them. And they might just be fighting because they feel like they're strong. But like it makes total sense to me why they would defend the crap out of that mid tower. So Wraith King's getting gone on here. Pata misses her arrow. And you're kind of hanging back. Windrunner goes in because she's manly. You get a nice stun on the Legion, but ends up winning the duel. So good stun. So this fight, there's like little things you can do better in this fight, right? When Windrunner's committing like this is like, you could hit 3 heroes here with a stun, or just 2, and you only get 1. And some of that's, you know, because you're focused on right-clicking a guy with Grave. Like, there's no reason to, right? The hero's already at 0 HP, and you're right-clicking him. Now it's okay to right-click him. But I much rather would have seen you sort of walk this way or walk this way and shoot for a double stun. The other thing is that, like, you kill this Legion, probably just back. Or in another ways, like, or you could have walked to the right, or walked a little bit to the left and gotten a double stun. But again, like, thinking about your HP, like, Lifestealer ends up backstabbing you, gets a kill on you. And, like, this is kind of like one of those fights that's literally game throwing, especially against a greedy lineup. Like, the most important thing you want to do, especially with an early game lineup, is you want to dominate the lanes, which you definitely did do pretty okay top. I wouldn't say you dominated it, I say you did okay. And then you want to push down towers without dying, because they're probably a net worth lead right now. It's pretty close, it's about even. And, like, being even in net worth with a greedier team is not the kind of place you want to be. Doom's top, you guys overreact like crazy. There's 4 heroes top now. So if you connect, then it's good. You picked up your blinkers too, so that's good. Probably didn't need to finger there. So level 1 finger has a 160-second cooldown, and this guy is dead. Like, you've already farmed your blink, so you actually don't need any more items anymore. I mean, wards kind of are nice, and then like a force staff maybe. But like KSing there with a finger of death is going to weaken your ability to fight for the next 2.5 minutes. When it was definitely not needed. And here you're just like chasing with your team. I'm okay with that impale. But you guys are 4-man Dodoing, and that's okay if you get 2 kills, but you need to be taking objectives if you're going to play like this, because you're just going to get out-farmed later. Here I'd like to see you just impale this wave. Right? Kill the wave as fast as possible so your creeps can start hitting this tower as fast as possible. But this is good. Like, it's very hard for them to fight into you when you're a team like this. Stacked your stuns. Alk is there, now you're dead. So again, like, it's okay to play aggressive, right? But this is just stupid aggression, right? Doom shows up, and he's kind of out of position, but he's a Doom. Like, he's really tanky, especially with Vlads and a bunch of items. You don't have finger. And you're going in because you think like your Wraith King's gonna fight, but your Wraith King's a 1/4 HP, right? This is just a bad fight. Take the tower, retreat, right? Even if you blink and stun him and then just immediately run away, that might be okay. But you're just feeding them gold. Now your team's like trying to fight, but they're fighting at a weakened state, right? Wraith King ulti's down. Your finger was down, obviously you're dead. Team gets away because, you know, invincibility from Potom. Dazzle has sentries. This fight is still going on. Crazy. Windrunner needlessly chasing. Like, this fighting isn't accomplishing anything. Like, Windrunner just died. Maybe you kill the Doom, but then Alk gets 2 kills. Don't even kill the Doom. So all this fighting, like, this tower is dead right here. Like, you're not accomplishing an objective, you're just fighting to fight. And if you win those fights, then this movement is okay. But if you lose those fights, they only have negative repercussions. Right? Winning the fights is kind of like a meh. We got an extra 200 gold that we might have gotten from creeps anyway. I guess biggest thing so far is just fight selection. There was a lot of like minor inefficiencies about your movements in the laning phase, and I think that's the biggest thing to work on from the first 10 minutes. And then in this 20-minute phase, this like 10 to 20-minute phase, it's about picking fights and picking the right objectives. Because I think if you'd push down this mid tower first, or this pushed down the mid tower first instead of pushing this top tower, then you might have actually gotten it without a contest. Maybe they're fighting for the tier 1 top, and that's a little bit better for you guys. But overall, if we're looking at the game, right, it's you guys were up 9-2, so you were up 7 kills. Now it's 20-11, and I would say the last 10 minutes has actually been pretty even. The Legion is still kind of useless for them. Doesn't really do anything, but Lifestealer is having a pretty good game. Alk obviously has a Radiance, because that's what Alk does. He just loses his lane and then farms like a 15-minute Radiance, and that's the hero. So he's tough to shut down from that aspect. But you're really active on the map. You've been a part of 15 kills, which is really good. You got your blink, and you want to just be buying like support items right now. The other thing you want to be thinking about is items that can save people from the stuff that you're going to run into, right? Like Force Staff's really good against Lifestealer, so I would be thinking about that. Yule's is pretty good versus Grave, because if a target gets Grave, most of the time like Dazzle will save his heal for right when the Grave ends. And so what you do is you just Yules them after 2.5 seconds or whatever, and the target goes up into the air with 1 HP, comes back down, Yules does 10 damage and kills it. So that's one way of dealing with it. You also might want to build tankier, because the Radiance Alk might just kill you if he just runs at you. Like, you don't have enough burst damage to kill him unless you're with your team. So maybe you just start bracering up. Other items that are good versus Legion, Halberd. It's kind of a weird item, but it gives you tankiness for Alk and maybe allows you to disarm the Legion when she's dueling. And then like Glimmer Cape's pretty good for dealing with Doom. But you already have Invis on your team, so maybe that's not an option. Plus your like mana pool's pretty weak, so maybe considering that's not an option either. But just think outside of the box in terms of what items you need. Force Staff's the most apparent because it kind of helps you with your mana pool. But I think Halberd you can make a good argument for it this game. Maybe even a Drums, something like that. But overall, like, you guys need to put on the pressure, I think. Especially because Wraith King went Blink first. He didn't go a farmy build. So basically, like, taking Roche right now is really good because they're unlikely to contest. And, you know, take Roche, buy some smokes, which you guys smoke to Roche. And then take some objectives. So here you get a really nice Impale. Sheep the Doom. Alk shows up. He's probably going to kill you. Nice, you get your finger out. So who took the Aegis there? Lifestealer. Alright, so let's go back, because I was talking about something else and my camera wasn't on it. So what happened? You lost this big fight top, everyone died. Then everyone sort of like grouped up and respawned and then immediately ran for Roche. Like, when you have the better fighting lineup, you don't want them to contest you at Roche. You kind of just want to like take it for free. And the way you take it for free is by controlling the lanes. Right? If this wave right here, see how it's pushing into your tower? This means that something weird is happening. So this is actually, if I saw this on the map and I was playing against you, I would think they're doing Roche. So this is what your tell that you gave away on the map. There's also no one farming this wave, which is being pushed into this tower. Like, they have nothing to do but contest you at Roche. Right? Like, I understand that you guys want to take Roche because it's an objective, and I've kind of been stressing, like, get the objectives against greedy teams. But you want to also do it at the right time. Like, this is not a good time when you have two waves pushing in here. And even this wave, like, this wave's okay. But I'd rather see you guys go up, farm these waves, push them out, and then when one person's, like, defending this lane up here, then you take Roche, because you know that it's a 5v4. Rather than this situation. Your initiation is actually pretty good on this fight. One thing I'd like to see from your camera movement is just check to see how much HP Roche has. Maybe you just know. But like, these movements by you can drastically be affected by what HP Roche is at. And I like your blink where you stun both of these guys. I think this is good. You're stalling for your team to get the Aegis. But unfortunately, like, you get flanked, Lifestealer is able to get there in time, And like because your positioning is out here, like you and Slardar are fighting the Alk. Meanwhile, the rest of your team is fighting 3v2. And I don't even think Wraith King had his ulti up there. Did he lose all his mana? Oh, it was on cooldown. It's funny. So I think like the idea is good, but the timing is wrong for that Roche. You guys end up killing Alk, which is okay, but now you're like starting to lose fights. I mean, it's 2-1 now. And then if we're looking at like net worth, like you're starting to see it swing back in their favor. And then experience is starting to swing in their favor. And when you're like a team that's relying on bursting them down, you kind of want to get ahead, stay ahead, and never let them catch up. And the way you let them catch up is by making bad decisions. Going for Roche at the wrong time, diving behind towers to get kills instead of just taking the objectives and leaving. They're just like simple, well, not simple. They're very simple concepts, but they're difficult sort of mid-game decisions to make. And like that Roche ends up costing you not only Roche, but also the bottom tier 2. And I would say it's a heavily Radiant favored game now. Granted, you guys can still win if you pick off some bad heroes or out of position heroes. Like your lineup is extremely good at pick off. Blink Slardar, Blink Wraith King, Blink Lion, really good. Even Windrunner has a blink, like 4 blinks and a leap. Like you guys are so hyper mobile, it's ridiculous. But the biggest thing I want to stress with hyper mobile lineups is vision, right? Because mobility is a great thing, but if you don't know where they are, then like you don't know where to run. And like I said, because you've gotten your core items up, maybe just spamming wards as often as you can would be good. And you also like, there's 2 types of wards, right? There's the defensive type of wards, and this is like a moderately, this is kind of in the middle. It's kind of like a somewhat offensive, somewhat defensive. But I think what you want are really aggressive wards. So I'd like to see you using smoke with like you and like Slardar, because you 2 could probably kill 1 hero by yourself. Maybe you, Potom, and Slardar, you 3 group up, let your cores farm, do whatever the frick they want. Smoke up, look for a Legion jungling here, and then as you're going, you drop in wards here, drop in wards here. Vision, right? Then it's also under a smoke, so chances are they're not going to get seen by it. So we'll check out what's going on with this fight. Windrunner dies somehow. I guess she just died mid. So you guys killed Alk top, then Windrunner gets blink dueled. No, she just gets dueled. Maybe it was an invis rune. Who knows? But point is, right now you're kind of here with your Wraith King. So I think your positioning is okay. They go on your Wraith King. He has his ultimate though. You stack your stuns, you waste your finger. Stack your stuns again. So your spell usage wasn't the best there. And it's hard online because he's such like a quick fingered kind of player. So you tried to stun a lifestealer who was raged. So that's why you lead with Hex versus lifestealer. Then the next thing is you stack your stun with this Slardar, and this target is going to die. Right? You fingered a target with 69 HP when you could have fingered this lion or just saved it for later. Right? What I'm seeing a lot is like this hero is all about using his finger of death most efficiently, because the cooldown is so freaking long. I mean, it's still, like, it's level 2 right now, and it's still a 100-second cooldown. At level 4, throw it out. Or at level 3, throw it out. Because it's a 40-second cooldown. But at this stage of the game, right, like, you've basically used a finger to kill steel. And, like, you have a lot of gold, but, like, what does a lion do with gold? Once he has his blink dagger? And the answer is not much. Your score looks pretty good, but even if you like that gold probably would have been more relevant on Slardar or more relevant on Wraith King. Right? Wraith King's kind of fallen behind in items. So here you place another ward. You mana drain. This is okay. So it seems like you're really infatuated with warding here, and that's okay. We all have our favorite ward spots, right? Like my favorite ward spot is, for instance, like right here, because it blocks this camp and it gives really nice vision when you're playing in the off lane on Dire. And you just have to be careful about warding in the same spot repetitively this game. This is the third time, I think, this ward has been dropped. And maybe Potom dropped it. No, I think you've dropped it every time. And it's been dewarded. So, like, stop dropping wards that have been dewarded once. You gotta put them in different places, be more creative with your warding, rather than just warding the similar spot. And again, like, what is this ward accomplishing? It's seeing people farming this Ancients. So it's like an okay ward from that perspective, but like a ward right here is dual purposed in that it sees people farming these Ancients because they usually walk through this path, and it gives vision into here as well as vision into here, helps you push down this tower. Right? More aggressive wards rather than this ward. It ends up getting you a kill immediately, so you can say for that reason it paid for itself. But so here you blink Hex, which is good, but I'd rather see you right-clicking here, because Legion's pretty tanky, and you probably could have gotten 3 right-clicks in, and that may be the difference between her living or dying. It ends up not being, so maybe you just knew you'd have enough damage, and you just wanted a mana drain to like keep your mana up, so that's okay. But yeah, I guess it's okay. Other items you could be thinking, like, you're a really rich lion at this point. Force Staff, I think, is the item I would buy. Maybe Glimmer Cape. You could also buy a mech. It's like not unheard of. It's 24 minutes. Although your mana pool is pretty ass for handling it, but maybe you turn it into a Greaves later and it's pretty good against them because they're all a bunch of minus armor. So maybe that's the option. Yeah, I think Greaves or Force Staff would be what I would build. So here you stack your stun a little bit. Just finger there. So you die without getting your spells out. So you can sort of feel the Crowler creep in that they're starting to get items and they're starting to come online. And then you end up dying with all of your gold, so you lose as much as possible, which is 3,600. So here, what I'd like to see you do is, this Doom is shackled. He's amped. He gets amped. This Doom is shackled and amped, right? So he's going to die very quickly. I'd rather see you just drop your finger right now, right? You're a lion. You have no idea what to do with your gold. No idea what to buy, right? Just drop your burst so that this hero dies fast so that your team can start focusing on other heroes, right? Instead, you waste a disable on him. Like, the other way you could have gone is you could have just asked your team to do kind of like a target switch. And that's kind of unlikely with Windrunner Focus Fire, but this will often happen. Like, an Alk is over here charging his stun, and if you're able to hex him before that stun comes out, or he ultimates, then maybe this guy dies. So again, like, I'd like to see you in this fight. Like, what I would have liked to have seen is you walk in, finger this guy, hex this guy immediately, stun this guy. And then what you have is, instead of your Windrunner being stunned and this guy living for a little bit longer, you have an Alchemist who's going to stun himself and die, and then this guy who's already dead, and all of your heroes are switching to that target. And I think this guy getting away with a little bit of HP is what ends up costing your team this fight. Because you're focusing damage on a hero that should have died faster, essentially. And you're kind of like saving your finger to kill steal rather than just getting the damage out. Now maybe you want to save it for Alk, right? And that's like a totally reasonable thing, that you want to save your finger for Alk. But I think if you can burst a Doom down before he gets his Doom off, that's also just as good. Like, you aren't the only source of burst on your team. You are one of... Like, Windrunner's pretty good burst, although she needs a couple more items to do that. And Wraith King's pretty good burst if he gets a Mortal Strike down. Some of that fight, most of that fight, honestly, was just camera positioning. Right? Right, your camera positioning was okay. It was like right here. But I think if you had seen the ALK or had a little bit better better map vision, because the ALK kind of like walked in from this way. Like you're expecting ALK to come rather than just like, oh my god, there's an ALK on me, but we can't kill this Doom sort of thing. So just a little bit more anticipation from you. And again, like bunch of gold, no idea what to do with it. I think you start building Ags, and that's reasonable. It makes you tankier, so it makes you more survivable against kind of the magic damage from Alchemist. So his acid spray, his radiance, those kind of things. But it helps you 0 against the other 4 heroes. Doesn't stop duel. If Lifestealer open wounds you and rages, you're probably dead. Doesn't really help you versus Dazzle. And then if you get doomed, you're dead anyway. Maybe drums. Mech might have actually been the item. Greaves. Yeah, I think I like Greaves. It's really tough to say, honestly. Like, the strength of Lion, especially in this, like, 27-minute range, is picking off heroes who like to split push. So, like, this is, like, a perfect game for you in a sense, because they're 4 heroes who like to split up and farm. Here you ping top. Probably should have just gone. I think you could have killed him. Oh, their team is there. Hex the Doom. There, that was a good stun. You walk to get a triple stun. I really like that. So you guys are starting to lack damage. Like, it feels like the fight's going well and you have enough disable, but you just don't have any damage. So here, like, you're kind of chasing this guy. He ends up getting hit by an arrow, and then you stun and finger. And granted, you're not, like, expecting the arrow to hit kind of thing. So, maybe that's why you're blinking in. But when we're thinking about this fight, like, this fight sort of happens in a way that makes sense. Doom was farming top, right? So you're going to expect Doom to be walking in from the left side. So I think I would have hexed this guy, because he's really out of position, and then maybe Wraith King ends up chasing this guy, and if he stuns the Dazzle, then you can blink finger him. But I think disabling this guy is your priority right now, mostly because he's out of position. You end up using your stun and your finger on the Dazzle, which is okay, and then you also end up hexing the Lifestealer here. So this is okay. It's a little bit of a waste because of the bottom arrow, but it's okay. And then here, you hex the Lifestealer. When the Lifestealer's used all his spells, he's used Open Wounds and he's used Rage. So you want to actually use your hex to sort of deny spells. So I much rather would have seen you hex this Doom, even though Lifestealer is kind of here and hitting you. Like, I don't think you care about that. You want to delay this Doom going out as long as possible. Granted, Doom's a Wraith King. I have no idea why. Or even hex the Legion. And then you walk in and get another stun there, which is good. Lifestealer comes back out. He's like training your Wraith King, because he's got more farm than your Wraith King. You blink away. Slardar goes back in, now Slardar's dead. So, like, your team is really reliant on burst damage. And if you don't coordinate well with your teammates, or if you don't use your spells optimally, then you're going to lose to teams that just don't rely on burst damage. Like, they're all damage over time, essentially. Or at least Alk and Doom are very much damage over time, and then so's Dazzle. Like, that's his strength, is that he heals HP over time. So that's the kind of fight they're looking for, whereas the fight you're looking for is like the little ganky fight that happens really fast. The reason I was also suggesting a halberd instead of maybe this axe. This axe is nice because it gives you a little bit of mana, but the halberd, like the active, is useful, as opposed to the active on axe is probably not very useful. So here you stun Alk. We'll start this fight over. So this is a situation where they're taking your tower and you want to play aggressive, but the question is why, right? Like your Windrunner wants to go, but 3 heroes are dead. 3 heroes are dead. Maybe you're like saying, oh, Wraith King will TP in, Potom will TP in, and then we'll fight him. And that's like a reasonable thought, but I think by the time they get here, you guys are going to die. But we'll see. So you blink in. You stun on the Alk. What did you hex? Did you hex the Alk earlier? Oh, you hexed the illusion. Oh no. Hopefully that doesn't stay. So you can also use your mana drain to get rid of illusions. So I think that was kind of a waste of the hex, although it does activate your blink. Yeah, I would rather see you mana drain that. Then you mana drain again here. Alk is stunned in there. And the burst wasn't well coordinated. You didn't end up using your finger. Like, they were all up here, so makes sense they would be here. So, starting in the fight, I'd like to see you use your mana drain to get rid of that creep. Then, when you get to here, the focus is either kill this Doom or either kill this Alk. Like, you gotta focus. And if you'd had your Hex, maybe you Hex the Alk here. But right now your team is just running around and doing no damage. And meanwhile, Dazzle's healing, Scorched Earth is healing, Radiance is doing damage. Like, none of you guys are right-clicking. Granted, it's not your role as a Lion to right-click, but you do want to stun in such ways that your cores can right-click. And I think there it was just, you just wasted your Hex, and then you didn't get your finger out. Like, a lot of times, just throw your finger out, especially in those late game fights, because it gives your team a target to focus. And so like now, like the game is almost insurmountable because you're playing against a greedier lineup that's 12k ahead in net worth and 10k ahead in gold. And so your way back is very difficult now. And it's funny because, you know, it feels like at the end of this game you've played really well. Like you're 9-3-13, you've been in on, you know, 22 of your 28 team's kills as a Lion. Like that's really good, and I think you do play this hero really well. But it's fight selection and decision making, and the big points I want to get across with those fight selection, with the decision making, I guess, is choosing the right fights, which means you need to have better wards up that are more fitting towards the objectives you want to do. There you blink in, you get a nice stun, you finger the Dazzle, which is okay. I actually like the finger of the Dazzle there. I think that's good. Then you get blink dueled. Like at this point, I think it's really hard for you to win the game. And that's kind of what supporting is in a lot of ways. Unless you're playing like a Witch Doctor or some hero that's got like a ridiculous AoE late game spell, or like a Sand King even. Like in the late game, like Lion's a stun and a hex, and then whatever utility item he was able to purchase on top of his blink. You know, and then he's a little bit of burst with his finger as well. That's part of the reason he's like fallen out of favor, is that Lion fights really well once every like 3 minutes, and the meta is very much a fight every minute kind of meta, and so heroes with like really low cooldown spells are really popular. So the Wraith Kings, the Slardars, the Tuskars, the whatevers of the world. And so like all this fighting is fine, but the damage is done. You're down 2 Raxes at 32 minutes, and you have no one who AoE clears waves. So now it's just a matter of time. They'll just let the waves push in, and then they'll take Rosh, and then they'll push the bottom Rax. So we'll speed this up a bit. I think you played pretty well, honestly. I think it's just decision making. Like, I think mechanically you're a pretty good player, but I think you just got to be thinking more efficiently about how the game needs to happen and what you need to be doing and what's the most efficient for your team. Like, think ahead a little bit more, especially in the laning phase. And then yeah, we're just kind of sitting in base now. You maybe even could have gone like 4-staff gem. Or buy more smokes or buy more sentries to deward their vision. I'm just trying to give you more suggestions as to what you could have done rather than being negative towards the things that you did do. I think you did a lot of things good, but what I'm hoping to get across is the possibilities of things that you could have done better. Here you die to Alk. You don't even get any spells out. Like, in this kind of a fight, like, you're dead. So just throw your finger out. Like, even if it's on Alk. I would probably aim the Dazzle up here or the Doom. One of those 2 targets, but maybe Doom gets killed because you threw your finger out. Like, get your spells out before you die. Like, you were 100% going to die to the Radiance, so like running away there isn't going to accomplish anything.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen. Dire's bottom barracks are under attack. Dire's bottom
And then because you smack talk earlier, the Doom smack talks you back, so you probably deserve that.
now have mega. Dire's structures are fortified.
So greedy lineups,
Dire's middle
like
tower is under attack.
definitely kind of the bane of the low 4Ks. Like, pretty much every game is four cores for most teams. And what you're going to have to learn to do is learn how to punish aggression in ways, or punish greedy lineups in ways that allows you to win the game. And that's not an easy task. For me, I played a lot of Bounty Hunter when I was at this MMR, because there was a lot of fighting on both sides, and pretty much the kills were going to go back and forth, because there's bad fight selection in this lower bracket, and in this 4K bracket, and that's kind of the perforating mentality that like kind of keeps you away from that high 4K or 5K MMR. Is just picking the right fights and then using your spells efficiently and maybe moving a little bit more efficiently. So like that's kind of what's keeping you down right now. And I would pick Bounty Hunter a lot because, you know, if we trade a bunch of kills, that's like a perfect game for Bounty Hunter. That would happen a lot of the time, and then I could help win all the lanes by like ganking and, you know, win a lot of games with the 3 lanes, win 3 lanes, win game strategy. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any feedback for me, let me know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're looking to get a replay reviewed by me, go ahead and submit a replay to me via... You can either do it via YouTube or via Reddit. Probably Reddit's easier for me. And I'll have those links in the description of this video. So thanks.